Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. I've had a lot of American guests. They're so easy. They're always saying yes. Belgians, however, are very reluctant to say yes for podcasts. No idea why. These timid people. But finally, I got my hands on my second Belgian guest, and what a guest he is! This guy started under a bridge. Well, that's a little bit exaggerated, but like in a little coffee at the how do you call it, the coffee stall at the train station. Let's say it's under a bridge, just to make the example nice. And today he's leading not one, not 10, not 20, but 22 coffee establishments. He's the founder, the father of Easy Coffee. I'm very happy to introduce him to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Bart. Hello, Bart Buyse. How are you today?
Hello, team. I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, I'm very glad to be here finally. After you really correctly mentioned, it took us a while, but it's
Yeah, I
not
think it
because I'm too timid or too humble or what, but it's because my schedule was a bit busy.
I understand, man. It was. I think it was the hardest labor ever had. So that's why I'm like so excited for this talk because, like, the fruit of your hard labor tastes sweeter when the labor is harder.
That's why I did it. That's why I did it.
I thought
I
so. I
wanted to
thought so.
make you suffer. I wanted to make you
Oh,
suffer.
oh yeah, masochist in the picture. Hell yeah, man, you've got an interesting story. You remind me a little bit of the founder of Walmart. I forgot his name. He started a little bit later than you did. I think he was around 50 or 60. Don't shoot me if that's the wrong information. But you didn't start your entrepreneurship very early in life. You had a big a career,
Mhm.
a very big enterprise career, Lufthansa, where you were director of sales, 14 years, and then you decided to be like, hey, let's turn it around. What happened?
Yeah. So you're 100% right. I really started with a coffee truck under the bridge in front of the station of a very small Belgian West Flemish rural city called Isegem. So we were spot on there. That was 100% correct information. Uh,
Easy coffee.
and
Now I understand.
yeah, Easy Coffee comes from Isegem, so that's a small local city in West Flanders. But you're right. I had a career before my entrepreneurship days. I was a corporate director, working my way up at a big multinational, a big airline group, international airline group, the Lufthansa Group. Quite successful in that as well. I really enjoyed myself. I had fun and a smile on my face every day I entered work, and I went to work as well. I had the pleasure of working in 5 countries for the Lufthansa Group, so that was a very interesting career. But somehow, at the age of 43, I decided that okay, it wasn't everything I wanted to achieve in life, and I don't mean professionally achieve in life. I just became father of my second child, and my oldest child was 2 years at that time, and we decided to quit my career in order to travel the world for 2 years. So I took
Wow.
both my kids and my wife, and we went on a world trip, exploring 80 countries all over the world and learning things over there. And that was the best decision of my life. The purpose of our world trip was, let's say, trying to find a business idea we could implement in any European market. I wasn't really attached to Belgium. And okay, we found it. During our trip, we found our idea. And that's what we have been doing ever since we're back from our world trip. We started selling coffees, specialty coffee, quality coffee, from a small vintage coffee truck under the bridge in Isegem. And now we're the biggest Belgian coffee chain in, let's say, a mere 6 years.
That's incredible. Also very nice because like you started out with a big plan, and then to go from that truck to where you are now, like what an incredible feeling must that be. And I'm pretty sure that we're not even there yet at the because you're saying
No,
like
we.
You've got some European ambitions, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe
To
even bigger than that.
fairly speaking, we've just started. So this is just the beginning. I have to admit, in my business plan, I always described very thoroughly how big my ambition was to become, let's say, a big Belgian and even a pan-European coffee powerhouse. And that's what we have been sticking to ever since. And I will not say that COVID or other circumstances have slowed us down a little bit. Of course, that's logical, because COVID has slowed down the whole world to a certain extent. But ever since, we've been growing tremendously at a very fast pace, and we will continue to do so for a big amount of time in the future as well.
That was a little part of arrogance that you told me before.
I'm
I'm
qu-
joking.
I'm quite an arrogant chap, I know.
Okay, what gave you the idea to start coffee? Okay, you've got crazy margins. People pay a lot outside for coffee. But I'm pretty sure that money was not the main driver. What was it that got you to coffee?
Well, first of all, if coffee really would be the black gold, I think everyone would be in coffee. If it would be that simple, if it would be such a big margin maker and a cash cow, then everyone would be in coffee, which is, of course, not the case. But of course, you're 100% right. After having left the global airline business, I wanted to become a local entrepreneur, but in an industry which has a really big world touch, let's say, where you can have a worldview. And what fascinated me tremendously is that coffee is growing, yeah, all over the world, in between the two tropics. And okay, it's a world product. Coffee is so big. I mean, in every country I visited in the world, people were drinking coffee. There were national coffee chains. I mean, really popping up everywhere we were traveling. Also, in all the countries I used to live, there were big national coffee chains growing tremendously, competing against the Starbuckses and the Costas from this world. And during my world trip, I investigated a little bit the Belgian market, where I didn't have a real affection to anymore, and which where I had not lived for a long period of time anymore. And I realized that in Belgium there was no national coffee chain. And that's why I decided, okay, if that's not present there, let's make one. Simple as
Yeah,
that.
nice. Because if I'm not mistaken, the real world product that you talked about last time, you went to Brazil, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
to your plantage, right?
yeah. To be honest, after my tourism studies, I joined the airline, or I entered the airline business because I knew that my job would take me places. Working for an airline, it's a bit logical that you will
It's
travel a lot, and
literally
I
gonna
want.
take you places.
Yeah, it took me places for sure, and that's something which is within me. I mean, I cannot do a job as an entrepreneur or as an employee where everything is centered around the church tower, let's say, because that's not. I mean, that's not me. So I knew entering the coffee business that coffee would take me places. So that's why, correctly, a couple of months ago, together with our roasters, we visited the coffee plantations in Paraná, in southern Brazil, which was a fantastic experience. And we were really looking at one of the most or the most beautiful sustainable stories within coffee and within the coffee value chain, which we are, of course, a clear part of as well. And that was a fantastic experience, and that's what keeps me going as well, because I want to collect more and more of those experiences, but from all sides. I don't want to concentrate only on coffee plantations.
Mm.
Next month we are visiting the factory of our coffee machine, which is La Marzocco. La Marzocco is the Lamborghini of the espresso machines. For the moment, I
Okay.
have 26 of them. Um, and with the same kind of pride, let's say, we will visit the factory and the Accademia of La Marzocco in Firenze mid-October, together with the coaches we are training in our Easy Coffee Barista Academy, and that's fantastic. So I like the fact that we are working with a product where the different parts of the product, let's say, are coming from all over the world, and we bring it
Mm.
together. We melt it into our own coffee product here in the Belgian market, and that's a very significant and a very typical one. So that's what we are proud of.
Yeah, so there's clearly a wanderer in you, which is amazing. I went to like we had when I was younger, we had a lot of AFS students. I don't know if you know AFS.
Is that like ISEC or AFS?
Isaac, I don't know, but Rotary maybe that you know, Club Rotary.
Yeah. Okay, I know.
So it's like exchange students. So
Yeah,
it was
but it's
actually
like
founded in
Erasmus
the
and.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like Erasmus. Yeah, that was a
Mhm.
better example. But AFS is the same, but before college. So your year doesn't count. It's purely a cultural exchange, which is really nice. And I was so lucky that my mom from Yongza, from I think I was 6 when the first student came from Turkey. Then we had like from everywhere a little bit. And I think that really formed me a lot as a person to being able to touch all of these cultures until I went myself to Mexico for a year. What is it with you that attracts you so much through these different cultures? With me personally, it's curiosity. I just want to know everything about everything. What is it for you that attracts you, that draws you to visit these places, to learn from these places, to combine these places?
Well, I would say our big advantage as Belgians, coming from a very small, tiny little country in the middle of Europe, is that we have the self awareness that we're just very small on this big globe. And that's something, I mean, I am brought up with. And for me, the fascination, you call it curiosity, I'm fascinated by, I mean, the world. I'm fascinated by other countries. I'm fascinated by other languages. I'm fascinated by other people. And I want to discover, I mean, everything. I have a bucket list which is so long that I know that I will never be able to work it out completely. But because, yeah, it's fascination. I'm fascinated by all those beautiful things which are also in Belgium, of course, and it's also a beautiful country. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very small, tiny, little country in a very big world, and I want to know the world. I want to feel home in the world. I think that's an
Mm.
advantage we can allow to take ourselves. I easily feel home in a new country. I have the experience of living abroad, and I adapt in one day to my new environment, and that's something this extreme wonderness, this extreme curiosity, this extreme fascination will always push me to discover new worlds. And I'm not interested in extraterrestrial worlds because I want to see not only Machu Picchu, but I also, of course, I've seen already quite a bit, but Angkor Wat and Petra and I mean the Great Barrier Reef and all the highlights. And by trying to discover all those territories, I want to meet people, and that's one of my biggest hobbies. Meeting other people from other cultures and exchange and be open to them and spread love and happiness with them.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
that's one of the most beautiful things in the world, that we can all spread love and happiness, as
That
opposed
is a
to a lot of bad things going on in the world nowadays.
And what better way to do that than share a nice hot cup of coffee?
So coffee is the catalyst of the spreading of love and happiness. No, but
Yeah.
that's, and to be honest, I mean, so when we went to Paraná in Brazil, we visited our very small scale specialty coffee growers, which are farmers, which are the group of people we work together with is a women in coffee collective. So it's all
Okay.
women who Yeah, they all have their small acres and hectares of drought where they grow this fascinated product with so much love and passion, huh, that I mean you can only be more positive after having visited similar regions, and that's okay. That's for me a fantastic experience.
It kind of learns you to put perspective into things. Like the more perspectives you can place yourself in, the more hats you can carry, the better a generalist you are, and I presume also the better founder entrepreneur you can be.
Of
What's
course.
your where do you think this drive, this fascination, as you call it, to learn new cultures, where does this come from?
I studied tourism, but it was not really a clear choice. I was always interested in geography and in other languages. Let's say I was not the best of students. I was rather lazy, but for geography and for like German, English, I didn't have to put in a real effort. It was a bit like a natural skill of mine, and I liked it somehow, and that's why I studied tourism. And within my tourism studies, I learned to discover the world, because obviously my generation, I grew up in the 80s, we were not traveling that much yet. It's not like as a youngster I had already
Mm-hmm.
seen a big part of the world. As a youngster with my parents, we went to what is natural in Belgium, to the south of France and things like that, but nothing much more. And after during my studies, I went the first time to New York, and after my studies, I started traveling. Of course, obviously, entering the airline business gave me the wings to be able to travel. Because if you, as an airline employee, travel is really something very low profile. And okay, yeah, that's nicely said. You're quite
Yeah, that's
impressive.
very nicely said. I think you studied that one. It's not
No,
the
no, no.
first
It's
time
all
that you used it.
spontaneous. It's all
Spontaneous.
spontaneous.
Keep keep it in mind. It's a very good one to to
Uh,
repeat.
No, but that's the thing, and that's when I started traveling, and my first travel experiences were so enriching that pretty soon I decided to move country, so to not live and work in Belgium anymore. Obviously, supported by my company, I got the opportunity to work and live in London, and this foreign experience was so helpful, so enriching for me that I discovered, yeah, that's what I want to do in life. And then I
Yeah,
moved to
yeah,
Russia, and I moved to Poland, and I moved to Germany, and okay, it's all within Europe, but totally different culture, meeting so many nice different kinds of people. Only very thankful of everything I have already experienced until now.
yeah. Okay, I can imagine. I don't think, by the way, that Russia agrees that it's part of Europe. um,
I know a lot of Russians who do agree to that, but I agree with you. The important politicians maybe not. That's right, and
yeah,
that's
that's
very
also
unfortunate.
the such a big difference sometimes in the people, in the so-called voice of the people. But let's not go
Mm.
there. Um, Okay, so you climb up the corporate ladder until director of sales and products, if I'm not mistaken, and processes, which is a very good thing I feel to have as an entrepreneur, is just having that sales skill set and being able to sell stuff. Um, you got your second child that is there, and then you decide to take a 2 year sabbatical to travel the world. Was this because you felt like this is not where I want to be, or I want more out of life? Like, what exactly made you? I presume it's a couple of decisions and a couple of things that got you along the way. Can you walk me a little bit through that process?
Yeah. Predominantly, it was probably the realization, or the fact that I realized my light was shining. All of a sudden, I realized actually I'm much more of an entrepreneur than a corporate employee, because having worked as, let's say, the general director of the Lufthansa Group in Russia, in Poland, I was always able to do very fascinating things a bit my way. So and that's when I'm thriving. I mean, I give me a framework, and I will try to reach my targets always within that framework. But I will also think out of the box from time to time, and that's fascinating. And then I ended up in a headquarter environment, and I realized, yes, as a corporate employee, I mean, your individual skills are very important, but as a corporate employee, you also need to stick very much to the company rules, and that, in my opinion, endangered a little bit for me that I was not able to fully explore my personal skills and to fully develop my personal skills anymore. So I said, I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm an entrepreneur who is a bit stuck in a corporate environment, which is not bad because I'm very grateful and thankful of the corporate education I have received in those nearly 20 years I worked for the corporate. But I see it as a preparation for my entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So the nearly 20 years I spent adding value tremendously in a corporate environment, I see as a preparation for my entrepreneurial endeavors. And that's, I mean, I use my rucksack, my bag, which I have gathered during my corporate years in the entrepreneurship on a daily basis, and that's
Yeah,
something.
your backpack of experiences, your suitcase of. I personally I think that a lot of entrepreneurs with um, high ambitions being reaching corporate levels for some, that the general skill sets of entrepreneurs is not high enough to reach the ambitions that they have. So it's a constant walk down learning path, making very expensive mistakes, dropping, climbing back up, and having the education of 20 years of corporate experience. I'm 100% sure that that helps you amazingly, because it's like what systems to put where. You've got direct reports that you had, so you know how to build teams, you know how to motivate teams. So I'm super sure that that's
Yeah,
really super helpful for you.
I was raised in a protected environment, let's say, and then once again I spread my wings,
Yeah.
in order to go back to the airline business. I
This time
spread my wings and
your
to
own
do
wings
my
this
own
time.
thing, and then I was not protected anymore. But I had the perfect preparation, and that's 100% thanks to my previous employer, let's say, and
Yeah.
that's what I have always been very grateful for on a daily basis still today.
Yeah. How did you? So you made a jump, quite a big leap, and I'm 100% sure that you were like, "This is the right thing for me," so that you were able to jump. But I'm also sure there was kind of a insecurity there, in the sense of like, "Oh, this is a complete new thing. I've got the age that I have. I've got two children to take care of. I've got a wife, a household. I've got debts and everything." Like, how did you if there were any, of course, because maybe you were just like, let's go, hey, party. How did you come over your fears? How did you be like, hey,
Mhm.
okay, it's unexpected, but let's do it.
But to be honest, I mean, life is a string of hurdles and insecurities and things like that. And that's something, I mean, as a 51-year-old nowadays, that's something I can deal with very well. But also in the beginning of my entrepreneurial career, I was already 46 years of age. So I learned to be calm and to think clearly and to not take decisions in an emotional way, but in a very rational way. And that's when you're able to do this. I mean, there are less insecurities in life, I think. I mean, if you're able to look at things in a rational way, I mean, you already lose a lot of insecurities. Will that does that mean that my life is easy? No, not at all. I mean, I have a lot of hurdles in front of me, but they don't scare me. I mean, hurdles are good. I mean, I love hurdles, and the higher the better. So even if I have no clue how I will be able to jump over the next hurdle, I'm fascinated by the fact that the hurdle is there and that I will have to come up with a solution. And that's what makes me tick, and that's what drives me. And so that's why I am a big fan of hurdles.
Mm, yeah. What can't kill me makes me stronger.
Well, if life would be easy, I would not have chosen to become an entrepreneur. I
If
think
life would be easy,
entrepreneurial life.
everyone would do it.
Yeah, if entrepreneurial life would be easy, I would not be sitting here. So, but that's what just fascinates me, and I'm maybe a bit uncommon for let's say at the then age of 45 or 43 years old. Most people who are already climbing very well on the corporate ladder try to protect their golden cage they have already reached, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have maximum respect for all the people who are doing that, but I'm the odd one out. I put me in a golden cage and I will want to escape. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
be
because
caged.
you're fascinated by everything outside of the cage.
That's right, that's right, that's
um,
right.
ah, I had a question that popped in my head and it just popped away.
It'll come
Oh,
back, don't worry.
it will come back. Yeah, I need to let it go right now. You said that you wanted to do coffee because of the of how it really, it's a world thing and it will take you places. How did that process go of finding that out in the 2 years and the 80 countries that you visited? Like, tell me the process that happened during those two
Well,
years. It must
I
be it
mean,
must
to
be
be
incredible
honest,
also to share something like that with your family that is there and really like in the wake of the birth of that ID.
mhm. So to be honest, at the start of our world trip, I knew that we were going to enjoy life, enjoy traveling, do dolce far niente as well. So really enjoy the fact of just being together and not doing anything else than being together. And that was a fantastic experience. But I also knew that, I mean, there's one thing I want to achieve, and that's within those 2 years, I need to find my entrepreneurial idea, and I want to base it on what I learn abroad during my travels. And subconsciously, underconsciously, I don't know how you really call it, whilst traveling very quickly, although I am not a coffee drinker, I got confronted with all those coffee businesses popping up everywhere. And I was fascinated by it because, uh, like I said, although I'm not a coffee drinker, although at that time I was not a coffee drinker, I remember that when in 2001 I entered the London market, let's say, and my first day of working in a London office, I was in awe, really, of how many of my colleagues were entering the office in the morning with a Starbucks in their hands. And nowadays we can say, yeah, but that's logical. But I speak about 2001, which is like 23 years ago. For us Belgians, that was really strange because we didn't have so many Starbucks yet here in Belgium.
Hmm.
And especially as in the 3 or 4 years I used to work in Brussels, no one ever of my colleagues had entered with the Starbucks. In London, everyone came with the Starbucks. And I thought already at that moment, if I would not be a corporate employee, and I'm allowed to do something entrepreneurially, probably I would do something with coffee because I'm interested in that. And then, okay, my corporate career went so well that I forgot about it. And that's why I call it subconsciously or what. So
Hmm.
I was already in awe about, oh, that's a phenomenon which I don't know yet. Also, I mean, going to the first Starbucks in the US as a non coffee drinker, I was fascinated by, I mean, the big portfolio of coffees they were offering. And my friends, my American friends, knowing, I mean, every kind of coffee and immediately knowing which ones to choose. I wasn't a coffee drinker. And then in 2010, when I became the director of the Polish market for the Lufthansa Group, Poland being a relatively big market at that time, um, I still remember that I got to know the Coffee Heaven story. Coffee Heaven is a brand we don't know in Belgium or in Western Europe. But in 2010, I entered the market, and in my headquarters in Poland, I was working on the fifth floor. On the bottom of the headquarters, let's say on the first floor, there was a Coffee Heaven coffee store, and I never heard of them. I didn't drink coffee, but they used to have very good pasta salads, let's say, so lunches. And I always bought my lunch there. So I ate my lunch there or in my office. And then on the second day, I entered the Poland market, or the second day, I had to visit, let's say, the airports and the areas I was responsible for. I went to Krakow, and on the Rynek, on the city square, there was also a coffee heaven. And then the next day I went to Wrocław, and in the shopping street I also saw a coffee heaven. And then the next day I was at an airport, and there was coffee heaven. And I entered the station the next day, and there was coffee heaven. And I was really astonished by the fact how a local brand, supposedly, because I had never heard of coffee heaven, could become so big in a specific market, where I thought global players were really having the dominance, the market dominance, because there were a lot of Starbucks in Poland as well. And then I learned a bit about the Coffee Heaven story, and Coffee Heaven was founded in 2001. And by 2010, they had approximately 80 outlets in 6 countries, neighboring countries from Poland as well. So let's say Czech Republic, Lithuania, I don't know the details. And in 2011, so I'm 1 year in the market, I remember still eating my pasta at my office whilst watching the business news, breaking news, and I see flashing by on my screen Coffee Heaven sold to Costa Coffee for £35 million. And that was an eye opener for me. I'm not money driven, I'm not materialistic, but I have maximum respect for those chaps who start up something very small in a specific market and manage to grow it so big that they can even sell it to Costa Coffee for £35 million. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's what fascinates. I mean, so again, I mean, during that time, I was really, really in awe of what those guys had done in the Polish market. Subconsciously, it was somewhere in my head, but I concentrated again on my career, and I was working and working up my corporate ladder thing and things like that, having a lot of fun. And during my world trip, when I was confronted with coffee on my travels, I had to think back of everything I had seen during my corporate career, where I was. It was like an aha erlebnis. So I said, "Yeah, coffee. That's right. I've seen that in Poland as well. Man, that was amazing. I mean, what those guys were doing." And that's why during my world trip, when I was leaving the Taj Mahal, and the first thing I saw was a Costa coffee store. When I went to, let's say, some Thai island, and when you were entering with the boat on the island, let's say the first thing you saw was a coffee store. I mean, I was constantly confronted with
Coffee,
those
coffee,
coffee
coffee.
stories, and I said, "Man, that's amazing. That's what I need to do. That's a sign. That's a signal." Hmm?
Have you ever heard of the reticular activating system?
No.
Okay, so the reticular activating system is a part of the brain that makes sure that we don't go crazy. It's an impulse filter. For instance, when a woman wants to have a child, suddenly she starts seeing childs everywhere, and she's like, "What's happening? There's so many more childs. There the same
Hmm.
amount of childs, but because she's focused on children, her
Probably.
subconsciously is gonna let the children in. So the moment that you're really starting to get focused on coffee, I can
I
imagine
see
that
coffee everywhere.
you see coffee everywhere. And that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of the
true,
reticular
true.
activating system. It's a very interesting system.
Yeah,
And it's also one of the things that if you're conscious about those things, that you can actually some people see success, some people see failure. That's also the reticular activating system. So if you believe honestly that you will succeed in life, your reticular activating system, your brain will see everything that enables you to succeed in life, which is a very nice
yeah.
thing. I am very, very astonished about your level of self awareness. It's amazing to see that how far in the past you're already conscious of, like, I'm inspired by these London people taking their cups of coffee, and I'm
Hmm.
inspired by that breaking news. There's, by the way, also a coffee chain in the UK. Also, I think they went to around 80. They sold to Starbucks, if I'm not mistaken, for also
Number one,
something like
probably. Is it coffee
number
number
one.
one? Yeah, I think so.
Can be.
They
I'm not
they
100%.
sold to they sold to the third biggest player, Nero, I think.
It was a husband and a wife.
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's also amazing, and I think that like as an entrepreneur, like it's like you shouldn't be money driven, because if you're money driven, let's be honest, the motivation out of money. But I do think that money is a very good measuring tool to see how good you actually are, and of course how lucky you are, because it's skill and luck. So I think that that's amazing to have a drive. Do you have any selling ambitions, or we're gonna not talk
No,
about
not
stuff?
anymore. I started with selling ambitions, but now after 6 years, I don't have any selling ambitions whatsoever because I found my thing, and I am 100% sure that in the next couple of years, my roles within what I set up will change on a yearly, on a bi-yearly basis. And I will be now a bit more operational, and then a bit more strategical, and then a bit more on the sideline, and then maybe more with a focus on the financials. Or, but I will always want to play a role in that, as far
Mm,
as I am concerned. Whereas in the beginning, I thought, okay, I need to make something very quickly, very successful, and then sell. Now I don't care about selling because I mean I've come to the conclusion that I don't care about money. I mean, personal money. Yeah? I care about money because I need to pay, let's say,
stuff.
salaries and
Yeah.
bills and things like that. And so that's why I care about money. But honestly, from a personal point of view, I don't care about money. And I don't say that as a guy who has a lot of money because that would be easy. But I don't have any money because all my money
Yeah,
is
but
in easy.
but the thing is also like, as long as you're, let's say that if you want to travel and you want to fly, it's about the flying you care, but the money is a means to an end, if that makes sense.
Of course. I mean,
So
but I think I have said goodbye to any materialistic wishes I had in life 20 years ago. Because I think if you're in the corporate ladder and you're in the beginning, everyone wants success, corporate success. In order to buy a big car and to have a big house and to wear expensive clothes and to go to the right parties, and a lot of those things are very status driven, let's say. And when I have reached all those things, I've realized it's not my world. I mean, I'm totally not interested in owning houses. I used to own a couple of houses. I don't own houses anymore. I don't need big cars. I used to have big cars. I don't need them anymore. I mean, a car takes me from A to B. Point. That's it.
mm,
I don't need my own big car. And as to clothes, you can't see it, but that's a black Uniqlo T-shirt which cost me €8, and that's my dress code. So I wear Adidas sneakers, jeans, and T-shirts and sweaters, and that's it. I sold
mm,
or I threw out all my suits, my shirts. I don't care about them anymore.
no more suits for Becht. And that's
No, no, no. It's the I'm sitting right in the spotlight now, which is good. I mean, I it's my favorite position in the
yeah.
spotlight.
I thought so. That's why you wanted to change. You're like, it's too dark here.
That's right.
It's only my
Now I
carrot
have
keeps
more
shining.
spotlight on me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, all right. I found my question that I forgot. So you were telling about how you were unable to really put everything your way, because you're in the corporate ladder, so you can't put everything your way. We were also talking before we start recording a little bit. We talked about how entrepreneurs should be a little bit stubborn, should be a little bit like know it all, if that makes sense. How much is that having control? How important is that for you to be able to choose the direction, choose where to go, how to go, with who to go there?
It's not so much that I need to be in control because I see myself as a great team worker. I used to be a sportsman as well, so I'm a team sport player. So I very much believe in working together as a team. If I need to take the leader position, I will do it. But I don't necessarily have to be the leader, let's say, in a team. So it's not about, okay, everyone needs to listen to me. What I meant predominantly is, okay, if I, as a corporate employee, see the solution towards a problem, but my corporate is so big that it will take us ages to implement that solution, or even much worse, to get the approval to start implementing the solution, then I lose motivation.
Okay,
And
so
that's
if I
the
understand
advantage.
correctly, it's the bureaucracy and the slow moving things while
Yeah,
you want to be quick on your feet, you want to be able to
that's right.
adapt, you want to have that lean methodology and just
Yeah,
like, ID, babam, execution, right,
yeah.
wrong, okay, iterate and let's go.
Yeah, that's the cliche of okay, but it's a true cliche. Is this big multinational corporate is this very slow tanker which is nearly not able to move direction when it has to turn. And I wanted the speedboat experience. I wanted to be able to be quite flexible and agile in the
Mm,
corporate in my days. Corporates were telling themselves predominantly, but also their shareholders, that they had an agile mentality, and I was living under the assumption that corporates could not be agile because they're way too slow, especially not multinationals. And I wanted to get to know agility, this flexibility, from starting up my own small idea and building it up, and that's something. I mean, if Easy Coffee would ever become a corporate, I mean, one of the main things I will not allow to enter our system is bureaucracy, is hierarchies, is all the things taking away this flexibility and this agility. And that's one of my main learnings, having worked from a corporate. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because I understand that, okay, to a certain degree, it is needed in a well established corporate as well. But yeah, I think most corporates, I mean, used to and maybe still have a lot of work in order to solve those problems. And that's where I was reaching a bit my boundaries in my corporate life. Especially, I mean, when do you realize this most? Yeah, when you work at headquarters. I mean, this headquarters was so hierarchical, and there were so many, let's say, leaps you had to go through in order to get the simplest things done, and that's not my way of working. I want to move quickly. And
mm.
if I'm being slowed down by bureaucracy, I tremendously lose motivation.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So the moment you have an idea, you want to execute as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Why do you lose motivation? Is it because the lack of patience, or because I cannot imagine you have no patience
No,
as
because I
with
realize
what you
that
told
we
me so
lose
far?
money, not because we realize. I mean, at that moment, so I done a lot of project management within my corporate career as well. And I have been leading quite big projects after M&A projects. Let's say bringing together sales teams from the different brands the Lufthansa Group had acquired in the last couple of years, and I was leading those projects, and I was astonished by the level of politics and hierarchical decisions. And I somehow, through all this bureaucracy, where we all knew solution A is the right solution, we still had to invest a lot of time in also explaining to the whole world solution B and C and D and E, and it took us ages in order to make the whole organization choose for solution A. huh? And then it took us even much more time in order to start implement solution A. And within that time framework of somehow 1 or 2 years, we had lost so much time and money. Where I said, okay, I'm no, that's not my way of working. I want to very quickly create transparency. Any problem in the world, you can very quickly create transparency in order to see, okay, what is happening, analysis, what is happening, and after the analysis, you decide what you will do, and then you start implementing. And okay, that's now very easily described, how I tick. But I mean, part of my focusing is that I will always, when I'm in a problem situation, I will very quickly analyze and decide, and then stick to my decision and implement.
You never know whether a decision is wrong or right when you make it. It's only afterwards. And people try to spend so much time in like, is this the right or wrong decision? You
Mhm.
don't know.
That's right.
Just make the decision and you'll
That's
figure
right.
it out after.
And in a corporate environment, so many decision makers are involved that the analysis can take ages, even if the problem is not that difficult at all.
Mm.
And that's where I say, okay, look, and then the decision process also takes ages, and this and that. And there I have the ambition, which I put myself, okay, we can do that quicker, so I'll do it myself.
It's something I wonder because it's like a little bit the chicken and the egg story. Like what comes first? The systems or and the corporates, or the corporates and then the systems, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to guess is because like in the end systems are made for average people, if that makes sense. People that operate above average level, they will see systems as an anchor, as something to pull them down,
Mhm.
because they see holes, they see flows, they see things that other people don't see. But on the other hand, when you look at a society as a whole, you still have an average level of skill set, which is the median, and systems need to take this in account. And I'm wondering, like, is it possible to become a corporate without having those systems and those structures in place?
Yeah, but of course you need some kind of structure. But okay, I mean, there's different levels of structure, and I very much believe in processes. And okay, in a process-driven organization, you will phase out hierarchy levels to a certain extent. So you will make decision processes much quicker, and that's I believe in processes and much less in hierarchies. And don't underestimate how a corporate hierarchy is built in different layers, and how a lot of people will constantly strive to keep those layers intact. So part of their daily routine will be, okay, we need to make sure that the structure remains, because and why they do that, I mean, they all have their own agendas, and some of them are political, and some of their are personal ambition, and that's okay. I mean, that's but that's not my way of doing work. I want to
Mm.
cut, let's say, the processes to the utmost necessary and the utmost efficient, and then implement.
Yeah,
And
I
okay,
understand.
I will in this way go from A to B much quicker than in any other way.
It's one of my teachings. I always teach to people. It's like trust in the process, and the result will come.
That's right, and I mean, okay, I'm not an Anderlecht football fan, but I'm a big fan of Vincent Kompany's trust the process, and I fully believe in that. No matter what problem you have, if you have a long-term strategy and you implement a process which sticks to the strategy, it will materialize. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Very
And
interesting.
you need to focus, you need to keep with your strategy, of course. If the market environment, if the surroundings are changing, you need to adapt your strategy, and you need to change your process. That's logical. But as long as things are staying more or less the same, you can go your pace, and that's what I like. I mean, mm, I think, and that's what you see. Most of the time in corporates, people are sitting together in meetings, speaking about a lot of topics. I mean, driving complexity. My main characteristic is that I'm striving to reach optimal simplicity in everything I
Mm.
do. So I want to drive away from complexity. If I see something complex, I will think in a very short period of time of how can I make this complex thing simple. And I want it to be simple, because I need to explain it to all the people around me as well. And we need to be able to implement and to execute in a simple way. If I leave it complex, I mean, most of the people will not understand how we need to implement and execute. So I
Yeah.
need to really push simplicity in order to, I mean, one of the main positive characteristics is of a corporate employee is, yeah, I manage complexity, sorry, I manage complexity, I'm able to manage complexity. Whereas I say one of my main characteristics is really I drive simplicity.
Yeah. Kiss, keep it short and simple. 100%.
I'm
You said
coming
some.
from an I'm coming from an analytical background. Let's say I started my career in business analytics, and that was my main. I mean, 23 years ago, I used to work according to the KISS strategy or the KISS tactics, let's say, and that's okay. I've been brought up by, luckily, my environment of people who taught me a lot of things in the corporate industry. That, I mean, this is the right way forward, and I
Mm,
very much believe in that, because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
specialists. I mean, if you look, I mean, okay, it's not our cup of tea, or it's definitely not my cup of tea. But if you look at politics in Belgium, I mean, I mean, it's massive complexity, and everyone is very happy that, I mean, we don't find solutions for our complex problems, because that's what
to be
Belgium
to be
is.
really honest, politics is broken in the sense of like we're still voting on parties. We're not voting on agendas. Today we can completely vote with like blockchain and technology on IDs instead of like whole parties. Because like let's be honest, we agree on 70% of an agenda and 30% we're like, yeah, not our cup of tea. Like the politics, we're still living the society of Ad Politica, which is a book of 3,000 years ago. So yeah, true. You said
That's why
something
politics
before.
is not my cup of tea.
True. And not your cup of coffee, let's say.
Yeah, true that, true that.
You said something before that I found really interesting, and again astonished with your level of self awareness. A lot of those things are status driven. Um, I think this really touches the essence of this podcast for a big thing, is that so many people combine success as status. You know, having that nice car because you've made it in the world, or you know, having that fancy job, having a team this big, having you know, amount of coffee chains, let's say. Um, like how do you how did you figure out for you that's not worth fighting for, and what is it then that is worth fighting for? What is
Mm.
for you your self-defined definition of success?
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. I was also stuck in the rat race, and part of the rat race is that we all strive for a specific amount of success, which is determined into the salary we get, the status you achieve, your job, the money you gather, the size of your house you're buying, the size of your car, the brand of your car, and so on and so on. I was also stuck in that rat race. I agree, but within the rat race, I have always been quite critical towards. Okay, is that really what I want in life? And I didn't have the answer because I was, yeah, still young and unexperienced, and I thought, I mean, in my society, my environment made me think that that was what I wanted, until I came at a point in my life at 43 where I had reached, I mean, not all of it, but most of those things to a certain extent, which is probably satisfactory for people striving towards that. But for me, it was not satisfactory. And the reason why it was not satisfactory was not because I didn't reach the limit yet, the top yet, but it was the self awareness, like you call it, that man, that doesn't do anything to me. I don't want to have a lot of money. I don't want to drive a big car. I mean, I am honestly not interested at all in driving a big car. I don't care about how many houses I have and whether they have swimming pools or not. I mean, that's not what I tick with, or that's not how I tick, let's say. And that's for me, to be honest. I mean, yeah, the day I really realized that was probably one of the most beautiful days in my life. In hindsight, at that moment, I would not have seen it myself, but because that's me. I mean, I'm not like that. And how am I then? So I want to travel experiences, and any experience. Most of the experiences I gather don't even cost money. If I see the smile of my children when they are seeing me, for instance, after they have not seen me for a limited amount of time, I mean, it makes me happy. I mean, that's what I live for. And one of the most important experiences I am living for is, I mean, travel experience, learning to know the world, and showing my children as well, trying to paint this smile on their faces when they discover surfing, or when they really see Machu Picchu and say, "Wow, that's the most fascinating thing we've ever seen." But it can be Disneyland as well. I don't mind. I'm not. I mean, only going for, let's say, the intelligent goals in life. I mean, so any travel experience I can gather, a boat trip, a plane trip, whatever, a visit of a museum, a visit of a national park. I mean, an encounter with rare animals, whatever. I mean, that's what I live for. And but also, I mean, the experience of building up a startup or transforming a startup into a corporate is also something I am really, really, really happy about, that I can do that, because it's an experience, it's a trip, it's a journey. I'm having fun, but I don't do it for the status. I don't do it because then my neighbor says, "Whoa, this guy is so successful doing this or that." I don't care what my neighbor thinks. I have maximum respect for my neighbor, and he might have an opinion about me, but I don't care about his opinion. I mean,
Mm.
I'm so big or so small in life that I say that, okay, we all have our individual targets. Let's try to make the best out of it and be happy doing so. Simple
Yeah, true.
lifestyle.
So,
Hmm.
what would your, in one phrase, be my definition of success is dot dot dot.
Happiness. Happiness. I mean,
It's
to
easy as
reach
that.
happiness is the highest form of success. And I mean, one person will be happy having nothing, no money at all, no house, no car, and the other person will need three Porsches in order to be happy, and that's perfectly
Isn't
okay. Who am I to judge? I'm
true that isn't happiness also an emotion like any other?
Yeah, but it's the best thing in the world. I mean, if
Of
I'm
course, of
quite
course.
I'm quite a happy chap. I mean, and that's luckily. Even in the most difficult circumstances, I will still smile. I mean, many people around me have said already. Actually, it's easy for you because you're a bit crazy, and that's okay. I don't mind being crazy. You need to have a little bit of craziness in you, just like, I mean, I just said earlier to this morning to my business counterparts as well. I'm actually 51, so I'm stuck in a 51-year-old body, and that's why I have a gray beard and gray hair and things like that, and constantly getting fatter belly and things like that. But in my mind, I'm still the 15 to 19-year-old who is astonished and fascinated by everything
Mm,
he sees and
mm.
encounters. And I will never change that. I mean, and that's sometimes I even do childish things. I mean, especially for a grown up, but I don't mind because I need to keep that balance between that constantly older getting body, but also, I mean, making sure that I have this young spirit which stays in me. And now I have an advantage as a 51-year-old father. I still have children, or I have children who are aged 8 and 10. and they keep me very young. That's good. And I'm surrounded by an Easy Coffee team of baristas, shop managers, overhead people working in management functions, who are all very young. I'm the oldest dude in my team, more or less. I mean, there's one or two people who are maybe my age or even a bit older, but the average age of people working at Easy Coffee is probably 25 years old, and that's what makes me happy. I like
Mm,
being surrounded by young people. I like to learn from them, and I also like to, from time to time, teach them things. But I don't need
mm,
to necessarily constantly teach. But there's so much I can learn from those young people. I mean, I learn from my children, aged 8 and 10, on a daily basis, and I'm proud of that. I think that's a
mm.
very nice feeling. That makes me happy, and that's why I'm happy.
Bert, I am so freaking excited to see where Easy Coffee is going, and I'm my gut feeling says that it's my gut feeling says that you're gonna achieve your goals no matter what. What a beautiful soul you have! What a beautiful
You know,
kindred person you are.
if in the event we would not reach our goals, you know what will happen?
Tell me, the world will stop moving. There will be explosions everywhere.
I will still be happy.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. I mean, my happiness will not be changing. As a result of my company's success, let's say, because okay, that's
it's easy. If your goals are here, and you hit
Mhm.
here, you're already way further than if your goals are there.
That's right.
And that's something to be happy about, you
Yeah,
can be
that's
like,
right.
oh, I didn't hit my target, or you can be like, I did hit this, you know
Yeah, but okay, even if I don't hit my targets in my company life, I might hit my targets in my private life, or
personal
in
life.
and so there's always something to be happy about. There's always, I mean, and that's what one of my main phrases is. I've visited more than 100 countries, and people then tend to ask me, which countries did you like most? Which countries did you not like at all? And I will always say standard, like I have liked every country I've seen already, yeah, because there was everywhere new experiences, and I find positive things in every country I visited. Of course, I have a couple of favorites, that's logical, but also in the ones I probably had the least amount of positives, I still constantly think about the positive things I've seen there, and
Mm,
that's why the travel experience in that country was also very positive and very very nice for me. I
yeah,
always look at the positives and not at the negatives,
there's
and that's
beauty
why I'm
in
happy.
everything. There's beauty in everything. That
That's
being
right.
said,
That's right. No, no.
that being said, I'm so sorry, but it's the end of our hour. Ah, so sad. I'm so sad because it truly was very nice to meet you. Very nice to
Glad you
meet you.
liked it. Glad. I mean, same here. I think we had a very nice conversation, and I learned a couple of things from you, and I'm pretty sure I also said one or two things which were not stupid at all.
No, no, you. I resonated a lot with a lot of things, so it was. It was. I'm really very excited now to become 51 and getting all those mature lessons that you've had in those 51 years, and to make them my own.
It's a
Of
nice
course,
ride. It's a nice
it's
ride,
nice,
really.
right?
I mean,
I'm.
people
I'm.
are
I'm
scared of
turning.
getting.
I'm turning 30 in 11 days, and
Yeah, yeah,
I'm so excited because I feel like I'm at the peak of my life at the moment, and I feel like I'm entering my 30s at the peak, and then there's only one way, and that's more up, because like
yeah.
I'm
That's
ready
right.
for
That's
my
right.
30s. It's so so lovely time. Anyway, thank you so much again for being a guest. Is there any last thing that you'd like to say, anything at all that you want to get off your chest?
Hey, let's all become happy. That's the most important thing in life. I know it's very cliche and it sounds stupid, but it helps me tremendously in life to be happy, and I like being surrounded by happy people, and I like to spread happiness all over the world as well.
That is beautiful. All right, and then for the last thing that I'd say is for you guys listening to at home or wherever you are, like, subscribe. And of course, since we've been talking about coffee a lot, go drink some coffee at Izzy Coffee. It's IZY Coffee, COFFEE. We're not getting sponsored, by the way. Shame, shame, shame. But go drink there. I haven't been there myself, but I think I'm gonna go today or tomorrow because I'm super curious for that nice cup of coffee from that fancy machine of them.